Happy Monday morning. So much for getting in our digital organization class. I'm going to apologize now. This content is very tricky to try to put together online because what I had intended for this class to be was a whole lot of quick demonstration and you working while I walked around and helped and assisted. So I'm going to give this my best shot. As I'm sitting here, I realized all of the resources I have for you are printed out and sitting on my desk. Then I thought, the digital copies are on the server. I don't have my school computer home. So to go to the server, I go to our website, come down to Home Directory, log in like you would on your school computer. So likely your username is your first initial last name, and your password is likely your PPID, initials and PPID. When I log in, over on the left, you're not going to see this many folders. I'm connected to all of the different folders. The classes directory for your building is a place where you can digitally hand things out to your students. We don't really use the faculty share right now. And the homework directory is where they can hand things in. We only really use this right now in the high school, and to be very honest with you, Google Classroom has taken the place of much of this, as has Google Drive for much of the server space. So if I go to my Documents folder, and again, think of the server as a filing cabinet, and this is my drawer in the filing cabinet. These are the folders I've made. Because think about it, if I just threw every file in my file folder drawer, I would never be able to find anything, which is why creating folders is helpful. If you're not sure how to do that, I'll put some instructions on our website. So I know the files I want are under tutorial saving, and I have instructions for Mac and PC. So I'm going to find the one I want, go up and download it. Notice it's going to my desktop. One of the things that gets confusing with downloads is where does it go once I download it? You can tell your computer where to put it. I've told mine I want everything in the desktop. Usually it goes to your downloads folder. So I'm going to repeat the process for that file. And now hopefully on my desktop, here they come, are the files that I want to work with and I will be putting on our website today. So accessing the server from home, accessing the stuff you have saved is really not that complicated. You go to the web portal, log in, find the files that you want or the file and download it. Now here's the issue. If I go and open this document and I make changes to it, it doesn't save back up here on the server. I actually have to physically tell it to upload. And then I have to find the file. And again, I saved it on my desktop. And I'd have to say open and upload. I'm not going to go through that process because I haven't made changes. While we have a great amount of server space, this is a case where Google Drive would come in very handy. If I had thought ahead to just save these things to Google Drive, I could open them from there, work on them from there, and the changes would be saved. If your computer has been running slowly and you've talked to a technician, probably one of the things they've told you is to clean up your desktop. There are many reasons for that. While the desktop is a quick and easy place to store things, and I usually do when I'm working on something temporarily, putting it away later is a better idea. This will indeed slow down your computer. You could even create folders on here and think that's going to clean things up, and that'll help. But the very best thing to do is to save things in your Documents folder. This is a folder of the different stars that I award during class just when things are finished. They don't take up much space, but we're going to pretend that they're huge files. I want to put this in my Documents folder, so I'm going to go to my Finder, And my documents is located here. I'm just going to drag it and drop it. On a PC, which I apologize I don't have one home with me today, down in the bottom in the taskbar you'll see file folders. If you click that, you will see this kind of structure. You'll see your documents folder there. So once I put it in my documents folder, here it is. But if I want quick and easy access to it on my desktop still without it using up space, I'm going to right click on it or control click on the Mac. And I'm going to say make alias. So what you'll see is it says Class Awards alias. This is really a shortcut, so if I were working on a PC, I'd call that a shortcut. And my trackpad's not cooperating. I can drag that out. And now I want you to notice this file does not live on the desktop, but the shortcut does. However, when I double click to open the folder, it acts just like it did when I had the folder there. So everything is organized a little bit better in my documents folder now. I have a shortcut here. What I tend to do sometimes, I'm going to do it here as a demonstration, I'm going to build a folder. So whether you're Mac or PC, that's a right click. On the Mac, it's a control click, or if you have a laptop, you can set it up so two-finger tap gives you a right click. I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call that Desktop Items. Get this out of the way and use my lasso to kind of grab everything and put it in that folder. So I could repeat the same process. I could put that right in my Documents folder. Right click, make alias or create shortcut on a PC. And there, my desktop's cleaned up with the minor, just a picture down here to take care of. That's a very good thing to get in the habit of. No problem with downloading things to your desktop or moving things out. I do that all the time when I'm working on projects, but I do make sure I put them away when I'm finished. If you're a Google Drive user, you will notice that it's nice and easy to create Google Docs and save them. That way you can access them anywhere you have internet. But you may or may not be aware that you can save files to Google Drive as well. Instead of going to drive.google.com or going to your mail and clicking here on the waffle and selecting Drive and coming over here and saying, okay, I'm going to upload a file. Instead of going through that whole process, it's a little bit easier if you download something that Google has created called Backup and Sync. If you're going to try this today, you're probably not going to have luck. You need administrative rights on your computer, which you have while you're at school. If you have any trouble with this, I can help with it tomorrow. But if we look for Google's Backup and Sync, this just makes the backup process a little bit easier. So I'm going to download this. I'm going to install it. So I'm double clicking on it. There we go. Going to drag it into my Applications folder. So it's moving it. So to get started, it's in my Applications folder, and let me back up a step. Click on the Find Your Face. If you're on PC, the process is similar, but it's under the Windows All Programs. So if I go to my Applications, Backup and Sync from Google, and open it up, I'm going to ask some questions the first time it runs. Just have to find it here. I already had this installed and running before, so this is not going to be a good demo. It's going to ask you what folders from your desktop or from your computer you want synced, which is really kind of handy. And then it's going to run in the upper menu bar, which you can't see right now. And I have the sync paused. You will get an option to pick what folders you want synced. And what this means is Google's going to take everything you have in those folders and sync it to Google Drive routinely. You don't have to worry about backing it up. If you are to use our school's servers, you have to physically make sure you're sending things to the server, which means probably about once a month I go through my computer, I copy my entire desktop folder, and I paste it into the server folder. You can avoid all of that by just using this. So you'll see I have my documents in my desktop folder. I don't need my pictures going. But you can select which folders you want to upload. Sync everything or sync just selected folders. And say OK. So then there's a little cloud that you can't see because it's out of your view in the upper menu bar. And this is back up in sync. I have it paused right now. But once you get that going, it's going to go through and sync all of my stuff to the cloud. Up there is a little Google Drive icon, and this is how it's laid out. I like this look a little bit better than I do looking at Google Drive in the web. And I can also see where I have folders created and where I don't. Everything is kind of alphabetized here. So if I were to look at this on the web, this is what my drive looks like. My drive, again, anything that I authored lives here. I have the ability to create folders in here by just simply saying new folder. It lives over here. So if I wanted to move documents to it, there are a couple of different ways I could do that. If I want to put, for example, this presentation in that folder, I could drag it and drop it. If I wanted this in there, I could do the same thing. Or I could right-click on it, which on the Mac is a control click. Move it to, find the folder I want it to go to, and say move. You might notice the color here too. You have the ability to color code your folders. So if I were to right-click or control-click on any of my folders, this is where I can go to change the colors. If we're talking about organizing in Drive, you cannot organize and create folders in Shared with Me. These would be documents other people create and share to you. So what you need to do is actually physically move these things up to your Drive in order to put them in folders. I tend to just leave this. This is almost like the downloads folder on my computer. If, for example, I wanted to be able to organize this copy of Crab, for example, I could move it to my Drive. Once it's there, I can add it to various folders. So that's awesome. But if I go up to my little cloud icon and click for Google Drive and Sync or Backup and Sync, notice it puts Google Drive right here in my favorites, and I have the ability to look at all my documents here. I can drag and drop things, so the recording I made that I'm going to add to a movie later, I can throw in Google Drive just by dragging and dropping it. What's nice now is if I go to any other computer, log in to Google Drive on the web, that file's there. So this is just a quicker way of backing up your stuff. And because I have backup and sync turned on, it's downloading or backing up my Mac desktop folder and my documents folder. I can create folders in here too. So I can right click. Actually, probably I would do it out on my desktop. New folder. Google Drive sample, I'll call this. I can do it from within the Google Drive folder as well. Here's Google Drive sample. If I wanted to move things to that folder, it's a drag and a drop. I just put it in the wrong spot. Undo. So the Google Backup and Sync, I'll be talking about more in class tomorrow night, but I have actually moved to this for backing up my stuff. I still use the server, but I think as time goes on, I'm going to be using Backup and Sync more often from Google. So what do we do with pictures? Well, let's take a look at a few options. Google Drive can save pictures. I tend to put with photos, I keep my school things separate from my personal things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both. Not that that's something you have to do, but that's an option you have. Google has Google Photos now, which will show up in Google Drive, or if I come over to my waffle, I'll see photos are here. I've started to make use of folders, or excuse me, Google Photos, to share out things through social media. So I help monitor our social media accounts, and if a teacher sends me, for example, like 50 pictures to share out on social media, I will upload them into Google Photos, put them in an album, and share the album. So here's how this works. I can upload pictures by clicking the upload button. Of course, I think I have one here after cleaning up my desktop. So I'm going to open that. And this is relatively new, the desktop uploader. I'll play with that later. So it's uploading a file. I can always download the files or the pictures from here to have printed or to put on a website or whatever. Google Photos is a really nice storage place for the photos. And I find now that this happens, that we have Google Photos, my photos used to get lost in Google Drive, and this way they have a spot to live. So I can either add that to an album that already exists, or I can create an album to put it in. So if I create an album, I give it a title, tell it I'm done. If I want to share that out, I can share it to an individual person, or I can get the link. That link can be put on a class website, that can be put on social media, and can be shared out that way. One thing that's kind of really nice about Google Photos, you can have other people contribute to the same album. That's something that I can address with you individually if you're interested. Within Google Photos, let's see if I have something. Here's something with 14 items. If I really want to get creative, I can create a photo book from these. I can rearrange these pictures. So this is something to play with if you have time. I'm not going to go into how it works, but this is just an example of some things you can do with Google Photos once they're in here. If I tap on Google Photos Assistant up here, This just gives me some shortcuts to creating collages and animations and things. Animation is like a slideshow. So if I click collage, I can pick the pictures that I want in there. Just pick a few. Say create. It makes the collage for me. Here are some fine-tuning options. I can go through and make some basic adjustments, pick some different filters. This is just fun to play around with. But sometimes if you want to post something to social media or a class website, this is a neat way to do it. Instead of having like 7 or 8 pictures, you can put them into a collage. So we have the assistant, which gives you shortcuts to creation. It gives you the photos, which shows you everything. Albums, which gives you the ability to add a new album, move things to albums, or share albums. So this is a neat way to store things. Now let's say there's a picture that I want, and I want to print that. I come over to my 3 dots, and I say download all. This picture is coming back down to either my documents or desktop folder, wherever I have chosen for it to save, and then I can take it and print it. So that's a look at Google Photos.